72. Murka Tumi Tomar Nahika Vedanta Adhikar Krishna Mantra Japa Sada E Mantra Sar. You are a fool, he said. You are not qualified to study Vedanta philosophy, and therefore you must always chant the holy name of Krishna. This is the essence of all mantras of Vedic hymns. Purport. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj comments in this connection, quote, "One can become perfectly successful in the mission of his life if he acts exactly according to the words he hears from the mouth of his spiritual master." This acceptance of the words of the spiritual master is called Shrota Vakya, which indicates that the disciple must carry out the spiritual master's instruction without deviation. So this is very important essence of spiritual life, which Srila Prabhupada himself was very exemplary himself, remarkably so, in illustrating this, and he would recommend it again and again. Our spiritual master wanted to preach. We believed in his words. We started in a humble way, in a helpless way, yet this movement has become successful due to the force, spiritual force of the Supreme Order. It's interesting, it says here, without deviation. So Srila Prabhupada received the order of his spiritual master. Actually, the same order, even in different times. 1922, in their first meeting, "You're an intelligent young man, why don't you preach Lord Chaitanya's message all over the world?" And then, throughout Srila Prabhupada's relationship with his Guru Maharaj during his manifest presence as a disciple, which was only 4 years, from 1932 to 1936. For example, when he helped to open it was either the Bombay or the Allahabad Gaudiya Math. He was a grihasta and was living outside, but he was very much involved with the activities of the Math, and was bringing respectable persons and donors to help support the Math's activities. And it was being recommended by his godbrothers that he should take more leadership role. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, "And it's better that he remains outside your company. In due course of time, he will do everything himself. You do not have to recommend him." Radhakund, 1935. He confided in our Srila Prabhupada his dissatisfaction over leaders of his mission, his most senior disciples fighting amongst themselves for position and facilities. And he was very upset and disturbed. And he told Srila Prabhupada, there will be fire in the mott, and that fire of party interests will spread and destroy. For a long time I had a desire to print some books. And he said during that time, I have not opened these temples or buildings that might later fall to dogs and monkeys, or that those who live simply at the cost or utilizing the funds, the life fund, the blood of the Gaudiya Math, which is meant for preaching, and they use it simply for eating, which will later be passed out as stool, are no better than dogs and monkeys. It is better to take the marble from the temple and print books. If you ever get money, print books. Srila Prabhupada said that his spiritual master said, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it's the business of empowered and advanced devotees to write, publish, and distribute as many books as possible all over the world. That one makes one, by doing so, one is playing on the great Mridanga, Brihat Mridanga, and one actually becomes truly a Rupanuga Vaishnava devotee, following the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami. And then on the 13th of December, just 17, 18 days before Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's departure from this mortal world, going back home, back to Godhead, I think you should push our mission in English. This will do good for you and for those who will help you. Actually, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, speaking at the Gaur Mandal Prikram sometime earlier, he said, I have a prediction. No matter how long in the future it takes, one of my disciples will cross over the ocean and bring back the entire world. It was evident that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had marked Srila Prabhupada as a very, very special and advanced devotee. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati would say, if at the cost of all the temples and all the endeavor and everything, so many thousands of people preached to, so many thousands of disciples, if I could turn one man into a pure devotee, consider the whole mission a success. The current of pure devotional service is handed down from spiritual master to disciple. Evam paraparam praptam imam majarshio vidu. Sakalena mahata yoga parantapa. It's not necessary that thousands and thousands of people become disciples for the disciplic succession to go on. It is an affair of the heart, the pure heart, from one pure heart to another pure heart. One moon is enough to illuminate the darkness of the entire world. Actually, Srila Prabhupada was being presented for initiation in Allahabad in 1932. And the recommendation was being given, he was being verbally spoken of, being presented to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and Srila Bhakti said, yes, I will make him my disciple. He likes to hear. And of course, actually, within the last year, some months earlier, at the conclusion of the Braj Mandal Prikram, which was in 1932, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would be leaving at the place Koshi, and our Srila Prabhupada was able to join on just for one day. On that day, the choice was being given that the Prikram party, which was a sizable number of devotees, pilgrims, the assigned pilgrimage place was to go see the Seshai Vishnu temple in Koshi. And that evening, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would be speaking Hari Katha for the last time. He would be leaving the next morning. So most everyone went to see Seshai Vishnu, but our Srila Prabhupada said, what can I see at this Seshai Vishnu? Let me hear. And this was the first time he had seen Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in 10 years. And that one association was so powerful. Even Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada said, I had never been defeated before, but I didn't feel defeated. I felt it was an immense gain. I felt I had met such a wonderful saintly person. The message of Lord Chaitanya is in the hands of a very expert devotee. I wanted to join immediately, abandoning his so-called following of Mahatma Gandhi, and even leaving his married life, which had recently begun. I think he had already had a child, and another one was expecting. It would have been an injustice, Srila Prabhupada said. But I accepted him as my spiritual master immediately. Not officially, but within my heart, which is the actual qualification of the bona fide disciple. It's equal importance. The qualification of the bona fide spiritual master which Krishna supplies. Krishna is always concerned that there be a bona fide pure devotee, at least one in this world. And it's his mercy. He comes himself, but most of the time he sends an empowered devotee to save the fallen conditioned souls and act as the bona fide spiritual master, the Acharya. Whereas the living entity, Krishna does not interfere with their free will, which basically comes down to two choices: to serve Krishna or rebel against Krishna. So when one decides firmly, through very mature realization, to not rebel against Krishna, to serve Krishna, then one is an actual bona fide disciple. Prabhupada writes in the first canto, the spiritual master is not obligated to disclose all the secrets of transcendental science. Only when he sees that the disciple is very, very submissive and completely loyal, surrendered to the spiritual master and the devotional service of the Lord, does he disclose everything. And Srila Prabhupada remarks about Krishna himself, who was enrolled in the Gurukul of Sandipani Muni, and with another of his Gurukul brothers, god brothers, Sandipani Muni, was performing menial service at the ashram of Sandipani Muni, and they went out one night, towards the latter part of the day, into the forest to collect dried wood, firewood, and all of a sudden a big, gigantic monsoon storm came up, and they became lost in the forest, and there was no shelter, torrents of rain, and they just remained huddled together the whole night. And the next morning at daybreak, Sandipani Muni and the other disciples went anxiously looking for them and found them. And Sandipani Muni was moved with great compassion to see how these young disciples had taken so much trouble on his behalf. And his heart melting, he gave great benediction. Actually, what he said to Krishna was that his words would remain ever fresh and new. And it's described, that's why the Bhagavad Gita in particular is ever fresh and new with repeated readings. So receiving the heartfelt blessings of Sadguru, the spiritual master, is the secret to success in spiritual life. And it's mentioned here, without deviation. Srila Prabhupada received that order when he was only 25 years old, meditated upon it deeply for the next 10 years of his life, having the desire of his spiritual master very strongly confirmed just a fortnight before his departure. Srila Prabhupada was 40 years old at the time, going through the shocking and greatly disturbing dissolution of his spiritual master's mission. Let's just try to imagine how heavy that must have been. Then, practically at the the same time, India, a colonial possession of the British Empire, in 1939, Nazi Germany declared war upon, plunging India, sweeping them up into one of the most horrible wars that ever scorched this planet. Prabhupada himself was living in Calcutta and bombs were dropping. Can you imagine we're living here and some enemy country is dropping bombs on New York City? What would this city be like? What would our life be like? Then in so-called newly liberated India, 1947 onwards, the partition of Pakistan and India, and atheistic leaders, Pandit, what was his name? Chariwala? Chariwala.
Jawaharlal Nehru.
No, huh?
Jawaharlal.
Okay. I'm saying Chariwala, like he's a Chariwala. Anyway, Nehru, that India's downfall is it's being attracted to all this religion. We will make the factory the new religion. And now India has to follow the New World leader America, who just beat Germany and Japan. Who the hell are you? We're the top dog on the hill here. And is trying to preach without support from his spiritual master's mission, which had fractured and splintered into more or less dysfunctional units. His country being poverty-stricken and also bewildered by false propaganda from the politicians, and his own becoming old. Prabhupada was living in New Delhi in the 1950s, trying to keep up Back to Godhead magazine, which was perhaps his first literary attempt to preach in English as per the direction of his spiritual master. Prabhupada was in his 60s, 60 years old in 1956. So much difficulty, so much that quote-unquote ordinary person or even ethical, noble-minded and reasonable persons would not have blamed Prabhupada for saying, you know what, this is just too much problematic. I will continue to live in Vrindavan in a renounced way. I'll write books, but I'll just more or less, I did the best I can. It's all I can do, and I will just live in Vrindavan for the rest of my life. Who would blame him? Actually, he'd be praised. Very good. But no. That burning desire to follow the order of his spiritual master and not just follow the order. My spiritual master said to do it. All right, I'm doing it. I did it. But he's going to do it. He's going to make it his life and soul. Simply by adopting that, the spiritual master becomes so pleased. Just like Krishna, he's controlled by devotional service. Devotional service Krishna doesn't easily grant, because if he gives it, he comes under the control of the devotee. Not so much under the control of the devotee, but under the control of the devotee's devotion. The highest emblem of devotional service, of course, is Srimati Radharani. And we see that in the affairs of Radha and Krishna, Krishna is always subjugated by the influence of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, intelligent devotees place themselves under the care of Radharani, because no matter how rascal one might be, if she recommends this devotee, then Krishna will at once accept the devotee into his association. So the bona fide acharya is just that. He's Mukunda Presta. He's very dear to Krishna because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord under the shelter of Daivi Prakriti, the supreme spiritual energy of the Lord. So when one takes the order of the spiritual master as one's life and soul, then all kinds of astounding things and wonderful things happen. And against all odds, and look at this, what ultimately Prabhupada coming penniless, traveling on practically the worst type of way to come from India, on a freight boat, no backing, no support. Imagine trying to live and figure things out in New York City in 1965, which was not like here where we kind of reached the end of, a housing boom. I don't know, what would you call it? Real estate. It's like things go up and then they... So New York at that time was... You say East Village, Lower East Side at that time, and people would look at you like, what are you trying to do, scare me? It's actually horrible. So Prabhupada did not deviate. And actually these tests of the material energy, the dissolution of his spiritual master's institution, Krishna even himself, he creates the external premise of the disappearance of the Yadu dynasty through drunkard fratricidal war, his own so-called, by being shot with an arrow by a hunter named Jara. This is all to bewilder the atheists, they're already bewildered, but to give them more fuel for their fire. Just see. So they can remain very comfortable, compact in their own atheism and demoniac view. So this going the extra mile, going above and beyond the call of duty, this is the super excellent standard of Krishna consciousness that ultimately really qualifies one to go to the topmost position of Braja Prema Bhakti. Krishna is much more pleased with this standard of devotional service than those who just seek to have, their own comfort zone, don't make waves, keep things comfortable. Ease-loving devotees. The acceptance of the words of the spiritual master is called Shrota Vakya, which indicates that the disciple must carry out the spiritual master's instructions without deviation. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection, the disciple must accept the words of his spiritual master as his life and soul. Let me see the yellow book. If you want to please me. Why don't you find that quote? Niranjana Swami was fond of it. I took it as my life and soul. I still do. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here confirms this by saying that since his spiritual master ordered him only to chant the holy name of Krishna, he always chanted the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra according to this direction. I will spread and teach devotional service by adopting it myself. Krishna's confidential revelation in Ādi-līlā chapter 4. A very wonderful chapter of the Caitanya-caritāmṛta. So like we have deep internal dialogue about our most heartfelt feelings, and if we were to disclose that to someone else, how sacred that would be. So that Ādi-līlā chapter 4, Krishna is revealing his deepest feelings. So Prabhupada gives the example that if a teacher takes the student's hand and writes A, B, C, it's not that the teacher is learning how to write A, B, C, but he's showing by his own example to the student how to write A, B, C. So here Lord Chaitanya, he's showing what it means to be the bona fide disciple. He's accepted the words of his spiritual master. Krishna mantra japa sada, always. A mantra sar. We were hearing Lord Chaitanya never disobeyed the order of his spiritual master. The third event, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. And what is the primary order of the spiritual master in Kali Yuga, coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? No. The Sankirtan movement is the full manifestation of devotional service, pure devotional service, all preaching, everything else, anyway. He never disobeyed the order of his spiritual master and stopped the Sankirtan movement. So Prabhupada, he carried the pure Sankirtan movement in his heart, receiving the order of his spiritual master. I'll find it. Give me. No. That's a good one. It's the one that's got the picture of Prabhupada chanting and talking in Square Park towards the end of the book. This is our book distribution. This hour, book distribution, is the most important task in our society. Therefore, I'm giving so much stress and I'm working so hard on this because this is my life and soul according to the order of my Guru Maharaj, and by his grace it is to some extent successful. And I took it seriously. I take it seriously still now. That is my life and soul. I never tried in India to construct big temples, or even in your country. We didn't. I never tried, but I was selling personally books. That is the history. And this one's very nice. Prabhupada in his rooms at Radha Damodar with his big Tridandi sannyas, a picture of his Guru Maharaj. That is advancement in Krishna consciousness, to stick tightly to the desire orders of the spiritual master. Because my Guru Maharaj ordered it, and I am also ordering it. Go on preaching. Spread this Krishna consciousness all over the world. It's a very big purport. Krishna is the origin of everything. Therefore, when a person is fully Krishna conscious, it is to be understood that his relationship with Krishna has been fully confirmed. Lacking Krishna consciousness, one is only partially related with Krishna and is therefore not in his constitutional position. This is called mixed devotional service. One must expunge completely all tendencies towards karma, that means being happy in this world, or so-called idea of being happy in heaven or another world. Jnana, simple knowledge of discerning matter from spirit, which is the ultimate goal of the jnani, is just part and parcel of the life of a pure devotee. Just like I make a decision to get off this chair and walk up the steps, where to put my foot next, it's not such a big deal. So, and yoga, which is simply meant to get some type of power, influence, whatever, for your own temporary name and fame. Useless. All these things gone. And the only thing that remains, the desire. Why are you doing this? Are you? These are compared to dust, straw, and grains of sand in the Gundicha temple. Lord Chaitanya was very vigilant and cleansed the temple twice to make sure that not only with everything out, but there'd be no way that they would return. Lord Chaitanya. Although Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the spiritual master of the entire universe, he nevertheless took the position of a disciple in order to teach by his example how a devotee should strictly follow the orders of a spiritual master in executing the duty of always chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. One who is very much attracted to the study of Vedanta philosophy must take lessons from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this age, no one is actually competent to study Vedanta, and therefore it is better that one chant the holy name of the Lord, which is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. Vidya Vadu Jivana. As Krishna himself confirms in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Vedaischa sarver hameva vedyo Vedanta krid veda vid eva chaham. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Only fools give up the service of the spiritual master and think themselves advanced in spiritual knowledge. In order to check such fools, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself presented the perfect example of how to become a disciple. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Thank you very much. Shri Caitanya-caritāmṛta ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Haribol.